That's why I first, consider it. It's gone more than the minor stuff. So, I'll just, that's like,
Yes, sir.
I can't hear anything. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
come in.
Bruce, they must be having issues.
Well, it's not me.
I don't think so.
Can you hear me, Bruce?
Here we go.
I can hear you now.
Yeah, I think it must be from headquarters. They must be having a problem broadcasting because we can hear each other.
Oh yeah, I'm sitting here thinking, whoo.
No, it's not you.
Well, it surprised me that it wasn't me because usually it is me, operator.
Hey, can y'all hear? Can y'all hear me? This is Jeannie.
Hey,
Yeah,
Jenny,
Jeannie.
yeah, Bruce and I can hear you.
Okay.
We can get started. We can get started now if everyone's ready.
Oh, okay.
Good afternoon. On behalf of Chairwoman Lucky, I call this meeting of the Academic Affairs Committee to order. We have several trustees joining by Zoom. Good afternoon, Trustee Lucky, Trustee Cunningham, and President Martin.
Hey, guys.
Good afternoon.
Trustees, we are here to discuss the August Academic Affairs items. These items were provided to you in the August board book. Dr. Temple, would you begin our discussion?
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay, Bridget? Okay. The Mississippi Nursing Degree Programs Accreditation Standards have been revised based on input from the Mississippi Council of Deans and Directors of Schools of Nursing and according to national nursing trends and contemporary nursing practice. You do have a handout with the change and rationale provided. Board approval is requested for revisions to state-specific requirements. Standard 2F, faculty and staff. State-specific requirement, all full-time faculty, part-time and full-time, must satisfy professional development requirements. Full-time faculty must complete 10 contact hours of continuing education each academic year. Part-time and adjunct faculty must satisfy professional development requirement in accordance with their designated FTE. The other is standard 5 outcomes, state-specific requirement. Degree completion rates. The program is expected to achieve the completion rate that is specified by the national accreditation body accrediting the program. The program will report on-time degree completion rates in the annual nursing report. Do you have any questions? Thank you.
Okay, we're ready for you now.
Okay, so if there are no questions for Dr. Temple, I'll get started with the next item.
Could Dr. Temple maybe explain one thing we were just talking
Okay,
about?
sure.
Our new trustees may not understand that our nursing jurisdiction covers schools other than our 8 schools.
Right. So nursing education in Mississippi, oversight is for all nursing programs. That's associate degree and higher. So that's community college nursing degree programs, as well as private institutions, and not just our IHL institutions. And so when we're looking at the standards and criteria, that is for all schools of nursing in the state.
Thank you.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
So items 2 and 3 are related to Delta State's reorganization of their structural organization. And so I moved item 2, modifications to existing academic units. That would normally be on the consent agenda, but I thought it might make more sense to present all of them at one time for you to see the full picture of the reorganization that they're requesting. Here is their organizational chart with the changes that they're requesting. You have a handout and it's also on the screen. So they are requesting a reorganization for the College of Business and Aviation. 7 faculty members will be moved to this unit. No new faculty will be required, and 4 staff members will be moved to this unit. No new staff will be required. You can see on the handout and on the screen what units and degree programs will be housed in the College of Business and Aviation. So I won't read those for you. I'll just give you a second to look at those and ask any questions that you may have. Under the College of Business and Aviation, Delta State is requesting the Division of Accountancy, Computer Information Systems, and Finance to be renamed to the Division of Accountancy, Computer Information Systems, and Geospatial Information Technologies. This unit will also be reorganized. 2 faculty members will be moved to this new division in the area of Geospatial Information Technologies. No new faculty will be required, no staff members will be displaced, and no new staff will be required. And you can see on the handout the degree programs that will fall under this division. Next, we have the College of Education and Human Sciences, which Delta State is requesting to be renamed to the College of Education, Arts, and Humanities. This unit will also be reorganized. 29 faculty members will be moved to this unit. No new faculty will be required. 2 staff members will be moved to this unit, and no new staff will be required. You can see on the handout and on the screen the divisions that will be housed in this college, as well as the degree programs. Under the College of Education, Arts, and Humanities, Delta State requests that the Division of Teacher Education, Leadership, and Research be renamed to the School of Teacher Education. This unit will also be reorganized. 14 faculty members from the areas of health, physical education, and recreation and leadership and research will be moved to other units. No new faculty will be required. 3 staff members will be moved to this unit, and no new staff will be required. You could see on the handout and on the screen the degree programs that will be housed in School of Teacher Education. Next, Delta State requests that the Department of Counselor Education and Psychology be renamed to the School of Leadership, Research, and Psychology. This unit will also be reorganized. 5 faculty members will be removed from the division and relocated to another area. No new faculty will be required. 3 staff members will be moved and no new staff will be required. Continuing with renaming and reorganizing, Delta State requests that the Robert E. Smith School of Nursing be renamed to the College of Nursing, Health, and Sciences. And this unit will also be reorganized. 16 faculty members will be moved to this unit. No new faculty will be required. No staff members will be displaced and no new staff will be required. You can see on the screen the divisions that will be housed under the College of Nursing, Health, and Sciences. And that makes up all of the modifications that, once again, would normally be on the consent agenda. Now I'll go through item 3, which is the new academic units that are being requested as part of their reorganization. So under the College of Education, Arts, and Humanities, Delta State is requesting, sorry, moved too fast, hang on. The School of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences to be housed in the College of Education, Arts, and Humanities. 21 faculty members will be housed in this unit. No new faculty will be required. 1 staff member will be housed in the unit and no new staff will be required. You can see on the screen the degree programs that will be housed here. There will not be any additional organizational units to fall under this school. Next, they're requesting the creation of the Robert E. Smith School of Nursing and Health Sciences to be housed in the College of Nursing and Health Sciences. 21 faculty members will be housed in the unit. No new faculty will be required. 1 staff member will be housed in the unit and no new staff will be required. You could see on the screen the degree programs that will be housed in School of Nursing and Health Sciences. Do we have any questions on their reorganization?
I guess under School of Nursing, there was no new faculty hired as a result of, I mean, they're opening their bigger unit and their addition this year also, right?
Dr. Griffin, do you want to address that? Push the button.
They actually very carefully assessed that last year and retained 2 positions to accommodate.
Perfect.
They had positions, we did not cut those, we retained those, so they did.
Perfect. Great, thank you.
Great. Dr. Rankins?
I'm just assuming, but it's not clear on the slide because of the faculty that are moved to these various colleges. Is Delta State moving from 4 or 5 colleges to 3 colleges now? So,
4 to 3.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I guess was it 2 board meetings ago that we requested the deletions of 2 units? So moving from 4 to 3. One of the School of Nursing is being renamed to the College of Nursing, Health and Sciences.
Can I give you a quiz? Would you read the letters and tell me what they all stand for? I think I got the first one, but I don't know that I know what all these degrees.
I am prepared for this quiz. Okay. BBA would be Bachelor of Business Administration. CP would be Certificate Program. MAS would be Master of Applied Science. MBA, Master of Business Administration. BAS, Bachelor of Applied Science. BCA is Bachelor of Commercial Aviation. Master of Commercial Aviation next. And then BS, of course, is Bachelor of Science. BSED is Bachelor of Science in Education. MAT is Master of Arts and Teaching, the MAT. Yeah. MED is Master of Education. EDS is Specialist in Education, EDD, Doctorate in Education. BSIS is Bachelor of Science in Interdisciplinary Studies. BUS is Bachelor in University Studies. MALS, Master of Art in Liberal Studies. BSJC, Bachelor of Science in Justice and Criminology, Master of Science in Justice and Criminology. And then we have BSN is Bachelor of Science in Nursing, MSN, Master of Science in Nursing, DNP, Doctor of Nursing Practice, BSW, Bachelor of Social Work, and I think MS, Master of Science. Did I pass?
Good job.
Well, one time I failed when DA was on. You remember that one, Doctor of Arts,
Okay.
and I didn't. I think I even chuckled in the meeting. I was
Right.
embarrassed that I didn't know what DA was.
I wasn't sure what several of them were, so.
So I am prepared now.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, I
there-
have a question, please.
Okay.
With the renaming and reorganization, perhaps you have it, perhaps you don't have it. How many employees are we losing?
That has not been officially determined yet. Am I correct? You're going to curriculum committee to look at some,
We,
you are now. Mhm.
so over the course of this restructuring, had phases. So I believe it was 5 or 6 instructor level positions were, I'll move it closer to me. Can you hear me now? So 5 or 6 instructor level positions were eliminated at the end of the academic school year. And then there will be, by the end of this month, tenured and tenured track faculty who will receive their notices of terminal contracts. Everyone has a contract this year, but going forward next year, that's when those will be released. That number's been projected but not released officially because we're waiting to all the curricular decisions are made when the faculty returns to school so that they can go through the curriculum process, our internal process, and then make the final decisions based on the curriculum needs. There were no staff positions eliminated. What we did have is some people who relocated. We absorbed them elsewhere with job openings, position openings in the university. And what am I overlooking? I don't think we've had any other reductions. Where we did have some savings also is we have sort of streamlined our leadership. So we don't have the need. We had some chair positions, stipends for chairs that were eliminated because we went to fewer units and combined the leadership for that. And so we've had savings there as well. I can give you a projected number. That's all it would be. Wouldn't really want that to be in the public domain at this point when those decisions haven't been made.
Dr. Griffin, typically when an institution goes through this level of a reorg, what typically happens, you have faculty who voluntarily move on to other positions once the reorganization is announced. Have you all seen that to any degree at Delta State?
Yes, we have, and I wish I had counted them. I've got a list somewhere. I would say we have had probably about 5 of those. We've had several people to voluntarily seek other employment, either because they anticipate or the reductions, or they want to be in units that are more viable. Because if you're going to move from, let's say you're a tenured faculty member in a department that no longer exists and your position's not threatened, but you're no longer in a unit, if you were in English, for example, and you valued being part of an English department, perhaps you moved on where you could be part of an English department where we were not.
Do y'all have any more questions? I know Dr. Pierce had talked with Edwin Kraft at Delta State. Is there anything you would like to add about potential savings that you've seen?
Yeah, thank you.
Just as from July, month of July last year to the month of July this year, spending on salaries is down 318,000. So it seems like what Dr. Rankins has mentioned, some of this reduction is already happening.
I would say it's probably, I'm going to approximate 6 or 7 faculty have voluntarily left. Just counting in my head. I don't have a list in front of me, so I don't want to be exact.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Griffin. Thank you, Dr. Pierce. Okay, next on the agenda, tomorrow we will have I think 6 degree programs, I believe, to be requested. And the first one is from Delta State. It's the Bachelor of Science in Secondary Education. This is also part of their reorganization. It will be housed in the School of Teacher Education. It's a 120-hour degree program, and it will offer a pathway for students wanting to pursue a degree and license to teach in secondary and or K-12 subject areas. And this is part of the reorganization where they've gotten rid of several degree programs, the physical education, music, social studies, science, biology, licensure, mathematics, and English education programs, and they're rolling it up into one degree program to give all of these different disciplines or endorsement areas to provide a pathway for secondary and K-12 education. Next, Mississippi State is requesting the creation of the Bachelor of Arts in Integrated Design in the Built Environment to be housed in the College of Architecture, Art, and Design. It's a 120-hour degree program intended to provide students interested in design and the built environment with a strong liberal art foundation in a more holistic disciplinary approach by combining courses from either 2 or 3 of the following disciplines: architecture, art, interior design, and building construction science. It will also have an opportunity for students to add a minor discipline from outside the college. The demand, according to U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis, the arts and cultural production accounts for $2.2 billion and 1.8% of Mississippi's economy. Additionally, the construction industry accounts for $4 billion and 3.7% of the state's economy. Arts, entertainment, and recreation was the largest growing industry in Mississippi by the GDP in the first quarter of 2023. The National Assembly of State Arts Agencies reports some 35 industries linked to the creative and cultural economy. These industries range from core arts and cultural productions to industries linked to or supported by design-based education. Similarly, construction-related careers have continued to grow in Mississippi over the last 9 years, providing an opportunity for students pursuing construction-related coursework within their BA degree in integrated design and built environment. Upon completion of this degree, students will be highly marketable and command starting salaries ranging from $50,000 to $70,000, depending on their specialization, with the average starting salary of approximately $59,000. The incremental 5-year cost of this program is $550,000 with a potential new 5-year revenue of approximately $3 million. And there are no other similar programs like this in Mississippi. Okay. Mississippi State is requesting the Bachelor of Science in Applied Behavioral Analysis to be housed in the College of Education. It's another 120-hour degree program designed to provide education, training, and experience to students with the goal of preparing them for practice in real-world settings. Faculty members are equipped with extensive clinical experiences in the field of behavioral analysis and have exceptional teaching, supervision, and research skills. This is built out of the success of the currently existing minor in applied behavioral analysis. As of spring 2023, after 2 years, the minor has 76 students in it and has graduated 27 students. Currently, the minor leads to licensure in the state of Mississippi as a licensed assistant behavioral analyst and a board certified assistant behavioral analyst. And due to accreditation regulations, this has to be a standalone degree path with full accreditation by 2032. So they're requesting that it move from a minor to a standalone degree. Mississippi State is requesting the Master of Science in PK through 12 student support to be housed in the College of Education. This degree program is a non-terminal 30-hour graduate degree program, and students are required to dual enroll in the Educational Specialist degree program and Professional School Counseling. We'll look at that degree proposal next in order to pursue licensure as a school counselor. In the Pre-K through 12 student support MS degree program, students will learn the foundations of counseling and providing academic, personal, and social support services to students in the pre-K through 12 environment and learn advanced knowledge and skills in the specialist degree program in professional counseling. So currently, this exists as a master's program, or the licensure is available with the master's program, but the master's program is 60 hours. And as you know, most master's programs are 30 hours. So very few students go through this degree program. And they're hoping by combining, having an off-ramp or a midpoint in the EDS where you've completed 30 hours, then you're eligible for the licensure and you can complete the EDS degree, which would lead to a AAA license rather than a AA license, that this will help them attract more students into the field. So graduates can expect a minimum salary of $47,000 per year as a AA licensed school counselor on a 10-month contract in Mississippi. Local school districts may add a salary supplement to the base salary. The incremental 5-year cost of implementation is $1.26 million with a potential new 5-year revenue of $4 million. And there are no other similar degree programs in the state. Next, Mississippi State is requesting the educational specialist and professional school counseling to be housed in the College of Education. Students accepted into the EDS program should hold a master's degree in pre-K 12 student support or be dual enrolled in the degree program I just mentioned. Graduates are eligible for licensure as a professional school counselor through the Mississippi Department of Education as a licensed professional counselor, and there are no other similar degree programs in the state. The University of Mississippi Medical Center is requesting the creation of the Master of Science in Health Professions Education to be housed in the Department of Advanced Biomedical Education. This 30-hour degree program is designed for clinical professionals or basic scientists to develop knowledge and skills in teaching, curriculum development, theories of learning, assessment, and scholarship of teaching. UMC conducted a survey of its faculty to determine interest in a formal program aimed at increasing skills and knowledge in health professions education. 212 faculty completed the survey, while 98% of the respondents reported that they taught or supervised learners. Less than 25% report having formal training in teaching or learning theories. So the proposed program would fill a significant gap since 96% of the respondents indicated that they would like to improve their skills in teaching or assessing learners. When asked if they were interested in a formal program to improve their skills, 86% of the respondents said yes. This survey reveals significant interest in the program among UMC faculty. Additionally, the program will be open to individuals outside of UMC. Fellows and residents may also enroll in the program, As such, the proposed number of incoming students and students admitted annually, they feel are reasonable goals. The program meets a need of UMC faculty and others who provide training and supervision of learners. The Master of Science in Health Profession Education would be the first such program in the state of Mississippi. There's no comparable program in the states of Louisiana or Alabama. Exploration of these states has yielded at most one similar program, which is the Master of Science in Anatomical Science at the University of Alabama, Birmingham, in the Department of Cell Development and Integrative Biology. However, that program only focuses on teaching anatomy, while the Master of Science in Health Professions Education would have a broader scope. The incremental 5-year cost of implementation is $63,000 with a potential new revenue, 5-year revenue of $710,000. And once again, there are no similar programs to this in the state. So I'll open it up to any questions you may have about the degree programs. If we don't have representatives here who can answer, I can get the answers for you and bring them to you first thing in the morning.
Not about, oh, thank you. Got to learn how to do that, don't I? And it's not about any of these programs because they all sound great to me. But in general, when we're asked to approve new programs like this, number one, do we track their projections on cost and benefit over the 5-year period? And secondly, when there is another program in existence at another institution, and I know you tell us whether there is or is not, but if there was, do we check with the other institutions that have that similar program to get their comments about that program?
That's a great question. I'd like to put Dr. Wilkin on the hot seat. Would you like to talk about what the institutions do prior to bringing the request to IHL? Have you done your due diligence in seeing how that would be received by other institutions in the state?
Sure. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity. I think that most institutions, from our experience, will do their due diligence to find out what's being offered at other institutions and either have informal conversations with those institutions or wait for the formal conversation we have in the CAO meetings every month to talk about new programs and talk about how those programs might impact other institutions. And so there is a considerable amount of communication about what is offered at different universities and how they might interact or how they might compete for students in those areas. The question about tracking, we at the institution level monitor what they've told us it will cost and what we've calculated those costs to be, and then monitor, are we seeing the increases that we expected within those programs? IHL does have a monitoring system called Productivity Review, which reviews every program at our institutions on a regular cycle for the number of graduates that are coming from the programs. And if they don't hit those, if the programs don't hit those productivity review metrics, they're different for the bachelor's level and the graduate levels, then we're asked to justify why we would continue that program or asked to delete it.
Dr. Wilkins, could you explain what the CAO is and what y'all do at those meetings? I've been to at least one. I'm with you, but our new trustees probably aren't familiar with it.
Sorry, more acronyms. So the CAOs are our chief academic officers, which are all the provosts across the system. We meet on the Wednesdays before board meetings and discuss not just the creation of new programs, the creation of programs in general, but also the dynamics that we face within the state and some of the dynamics in higher education and how it might affect the system. And so it's a very collaborative group of individuals who work together not only in those meetings, but even in between meetings to help deal with issues and help analyze issues that we might experience on our own campuses or across the system.
So some of y'all can do like me, that when you have questions about things and you direct them to the commissioner, he may say that's something we'll bring up with the CAOs. Because it's really not our level, it's just a question we may have, and then they'll discuss that at their meeting.
And you're welcome to attend any of the meetings if you like. We had Trustee Lucky participate today. She joined in via Zoom to listen to the conversations, and we're glad to have any of you join us.
Dr. Presswood, this is Jeannie on the phone, and I just wanted to tell everybody, I did get a chance to join the meeting today and listen to the meeting, and I just want y'all to know they do a tremendous amount of work at this meeting. I was very impressed with the knowledge and the level of discussion and information sharing at the meeting. And I would encourage any of you that have an extra hour or two on that Wednesday to join into the meeting, if nothing else, to just learn and listen to the process, because the group was really quite impressive in the work they did. And I want to thank Dr. Presswood in particular, but certainly the members of all the chief academic officers that worked in those meetings and to make this happen. So thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Trustee Lucky. Appreciate you joining us. And once again, she joined by Zoom. If any of you ever want to participate, I'll send you a Zoom link, or you're welcome to come in person, and we stay afterwards and have lunch and fellowship. And it's a nice thing to see that they don't all run out of the room. Everybody hangs out and discusses, hey, we're working on this, or what are you doing about that? And it's a great group. Any more questions?
Okay, thank you.
Um,
Did you have anything else, Dr. Presswood? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Is there anything else anyone wants to discuss? Any other business to handle? If not, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting? Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Trustee Lucky? Trustee Lucky, can you hear me? Trustee Cunningham?
Aye.
President Martin?
Hi.
Thank you. Thank
This
you
is
all for
Trustee
participating.
Lucky. I vote aye. I'm
Thank
sorry.
you. No
Darn mute
worries.
button. And thank you,
you.
Teresa,
Very-
for doing this today. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Thank you.
Password, all I got. I know, I know. That's the way you're brushing. I did, because we're right. We need right.
Maybe not this much all at once. Yeah.
So this is the back door, get out.
That is your escape hatch. Unless, you know, somebody follows you out there, that's a good avenue to go. That way there's no stampede for just one.
We're good to go, Bridget?
Let me round up a few of the trustees.
Okay.
Trustee Cunningham, you're looking mighty dapper today.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. Not looking bad yourself.
I couldn't look good if my life depended on it.
Oh, man.
We're ready, Dr. Cunningham.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I call this meeting of the Health Affairs Committee to order. Several of us are joining by Zoom today. We have President Martin, and we also have Trustee Lucky joining us. As a reminder to everyone, please use your microphone when speaking. We'll just jump right into it. So, Jennifer, will you get us started?
I will. So we're off to a new fiscal year. So going to share with you July 25 results. This document, if you'll recall, the left side is the current month. Generally, the right side is year to date, but obviously in the case where it's our first month, there's going to be the same data. I'm pleased to say that July started off much stronger this year than in years past. Generally, it's when we're onboarding new faculty members, volumes drop. And so last year, those of you are around will remember we had a loss from operations last year in July, but much improved performance this year. So we're pleased with that. If you look again at the top section, then we'll talk through just the revenue categories, starting with patient care revenue. You'll see patient care revenue, 146.7 million. That is 4.3 million over budget, but if you look at over prior year, it's significantly over prior year too. So we're almost 21 million over prior year volumes. And so we've continued strong, both census and procedural surgeries continued to be up. And so we're pleased with that. Other categories are consistent with what we would have expected for the month of July, and it leaves our total revenue for the month of 179.2 million. So starting off ahead of budget and 23 million ahead in total revenues over prior year. In the expense categories, fairly consistent story. Salaries, wages this time, combined with contract labor, really are all right on budget. And so we're pleased with those results. We did see a spike up in supplies, some of that driven from the increase in volume, particularly in the retail pharmacy and specialty pharmacy space. Those numbers were high. And we also had some non-capital equipment purchases, some PCs that are not capitalized that are running through. And so supplies run high, a little high this month, but it still left our operating EBITDA at $9.9 million, which is $3 million ahead of budget. And then if you look at the depreciation, interest expense and income, you'll see we had a positive investment returns for the month of July, leaving us with a net income number of 6.6 million, which is 5.6 ahead of budget. And again, significantly ahead of where we started last fiscal year. This is the waterfall graph that I've been sharing with us for the last 12 months. And so for 1 month, you can see this graph reconciles our budgeted EBITDA. So again, earnings before interest and depreciation. So it's basically reconciling budget to actual. And you'll see the color coded green are the positives where we did better than budget, and red would be negatives. And consistent with what we just shared in the numbers, you'll see here patient care revenues, the big green bucket there. So you can see the volumes, and then the supply categories, the negative red, like I just talked through. From a balance sheet perspective, very consistent. This compares year over year, so really consistent. There is the adjusted pension liability, but otherwise a pretty consistent balance sheet. And then these are the two items that we focus on each month. And so days cash on hand, we've talked about a lot. We have started the new fiscal year, and so you'll see that indicated in the blue line. It's only 1 month, so it's a little hard to see, but we did end July with 95 days cash on hand. And you'll recall that the gray dotted line is our target to stay in excess of 90 days. And then the orange line indicates where we were same time prior year. So again, cash is where we would expected it to be for the month. And then the next one is just days in accounts receivable. So how long is it taking us to collect on our patient accounts receivable? You'll see we're at 43 days, very close to what our target has been, an improvement over prior year. And so again, we're pleased with those results, and obviously we'll keep working on making that one better. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have on July's performance. Okay, yeah.
Okay, we will move on to the clinical quality update from Lisa Didion.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to you and give you an update on what we're doing. And from a quality perspective, today I'm going to give you an update on our latest CMS star rating, and then kind of share with you some of our plans for fiscal year 25 from a value and quality perspective. But first, the CMS star rating. So for those of you that have been part of the board, this is a rating, a publicly reported rating we get once a year. The most recent rating came out a few weeks ago at the end of July. You can see there on the left, UMMC received a 2-star out of 5-star rating. This is where we've been for the last 3 years. This is the public facing part of the score. The red box is around our summary score, which you can see is negative 0.44. This is not public facing. This is the score that hospitals receive. And this numeric score lets us more closely monitor our performance year over year. I'll share some of that in the next slide. You can see here the national average is 3 stars with a summary score of negative 0.04. Keep in mind that national average is all hospitals, big, small, academic, private, rural, it includes it all. So we're not doing too bad from that perspective. This is our performance year over year since 2017. You can see steady improvement. Once again, you can see since 2022, we've been in that 2-star range. But while we've been in that pink area, we have had improvement in that numeric score. And so, you know, for the last 2 years, we've been a solid 2-star heading in the right direction. I always like to show this, certainly to the board, but also to our teams internally within the hospital. This is how we compare to other academic medical centers in the Southeast, as well as to some of our competitors in the Jackson area. On this slide, you can see our overall star rating, which is that blue star, and then separated out from that, CMS also particularly looks at the patient experience side. So as mentioned before, we're 2-star overall, 3 stars from a patient experience standpoint, and how we compare to these other medical centers near us. So some better, some worse. We're definitely in the mixed. I would say we are not an outlier from this perspective. Overall, pleased with this. I know there's some new trustees on board this time, and so I wanted to go a little bit further and give some background on the CMS star rating. Very similar to the leapfrog letter grade that we reviewed last time. This is just another way for CMS to help summarize hospital quality data in the way that our consumers would understand it, particularly patients and their caregivers. As I mentioned, it is publicly available on the Care Compare, which is through the Medicare.gov website. It was officially launched in 2016, and the pool of data used for these metrics comes from required submission for all hospitals that are participating in CMS programs. So every hospital has to report this information. Because of that, generally, most of these metrics only include traditional fee-for-service Medicare patients. Many of these metrics and others that are in that data pool are also used for pay-for-performance metrics or programs that I've shared in the past, and we'll be giving an update on those later this year. To dive a little bit deeper, the star rating is overall comprised of 43 different measures, which get rolled into 5 different domains. So you can see the domains listed there on the left: safety of care, mortality, readmissions, and so forth. We actually get a score in each of those domains, and we get a score on each individual metric. And so what we really do with this year over year is to see particularly where we have outliers, and it kind of displays and demonstrates some opportunity for us. You can see how each domain is weighted and the number of measures within each of those domains. I've added there more on the right side what kind of metrics are included in each of those. So for example, the safety of care, things like hospital-acquired infections and complications are included in that. We're going to go into some of this data a little bit more on the coming slides. The next column is how we compare to 2023. Again, we just get this rating every July. So you can see in 3 of the domains, our performance slipped a bit overall, while we had some significant improvement in 2. The last column is really important, and this is the time frame, and we've talked about this on the Leapfrog public report as well. The data is always delayed, and that needs to happen. I mean, CMS needs time to do all their statistical analysis so they can do the benchmarking. But most of this data, you can see, particularly some of the mortality data goes back to 2019. So in general, anywhere from 1 to 3 years old. I put some stars here by what I consider kind of the key metrics out of here. And the reason these are key metrics is they're high impact. They come from domains that have highest weight and the lowest volume of measures. So each individual measure within that domain has a lot of influence on our overall score. And so we're going to spend some time looking at these. One of those key metrics is in that safety of care domain. I mentioned this earlier, hospital-acquired infections. Okay. These, I would say, are probably the most fundamental, this one and the next slide, the most fundamental metrics of quality. And these impact us not only for the public reporting, but also pay for performance programs. UMMC in all these graphs is the blue bar, the national average is the orange bar. And this is the data from the time frame used for the star rating. So you can see it up there in the top, April of 22 to March of 23. On this data, you can see we have an outlier in 3 areas here: central line infections, hysterectomies, and MRSA, or a staph infection in the blood. I'll show you some data moving forward that using our internal data, we can impact these scores more readily and see improvement. I'll share some of that in a minute. This is the patient safety and adverse events composite, that complication composite, and the red rectangle is around the set of data used for this star rating. This is a composite of 10 complications. So you can see how complicated the data can be. So even within those 10 complications, we have to figure out which ones are the highest impact within those 10. One of the highest impact one is pressure injury. I'll show you some data on that. And our improvement with pressure injuries has steadily led to an overall improvement in this composite. And you can see for the last 2 rounds of data, we've actually been at the national average, which was significant achievement on our part. Mortality. CMS tracks 6 particular diagnostic mortalities very closely, and each of these we perform very favorably. A lot of the work around here has been about documentation and ensuring that each of these patients gets coded out appropriately into the right diagnosis. Sit at the national average on all of these, a lot of great work. And then finally, patient experience. This is data from April 22 to March of 23, again, used for that star rating. Overall, patient experience, that's the component of the star rating. We actually have one of our highest scores. And when we break that out, remember, we are 3 stars. So do well here definitely some opportunity. We try to keep this on the forefront of everybody in the medical center, not only because it's important for our reputation, but really because it's most important for our patients. And this idea of making sure that we always acknowledge the patient's perception and that we deliver care in an empathetic way. A lot of focus going on there. So I think the most natural question at this point is, how do we get to 3 stars? What do we need to do to get there? And the reason I showed you all the data on the previous slides is because we need to continue to prioritize those key metrics. That is where we get the biggest bang for our buck in terms of our work. We need to have straightforward goals and teams that work together and include all the important disciplines from the care team. And then most importantly, data. Simple, timely, and actionable data. The data used for the star rating is not simple by any means, and it would be an unreasonable expectation for us to think that the frontline staff are going to understand that. So we have to turn it around and interpret it in a way that the staff are going to understand. So that leads us into our scorecards for this fiscal year. This is our quality scorecard for fiscal year 2025. I think for us, having transparent, very easy to understand data has been one of the keys for us to, number one, remain focused on the priorities, but number two, hold each other accountable. So our priorities are always listed there at the top: patients, reputation, and payment. I'm not going to go into all the details of this scorecard, but what I want you to take away is there's only 9 metrics on here. It's 9 high impact metrics. Each has a very clear baseline and a very clear target that I think it's easy for everyone in the medical center to understand. Many of these metrics were on the scorecard last year. Our work's not done. 2 new ones I'll talk a little bit more about. Workplace violence is a new metric for us. I'm sure all of you have heard some component of workplace violence in the public domain. I think it's become a hot topic in healthcare. There's been some very tragic events that have happened all throughout the country related to this. Workplace violence, certainly those tragic events get a lot of attention, but there's other things that get less attention. Verbal abuse at the bedside, bullying at the bedside. This can happen from patients, from visitors, from our own employees. You can see we have average 73 a month reports of workplace violence. I suspect that number is actually much higher. I feel like our caregivers are at the bedside and deal with a lot on a daily basis that they just think is part of their job. And the goal of this metric is we don't want more violence by any means, but we want increased reporting. We want to make sure we clearly understand what are the events going on in our organization, because that helps us more effectively develop programs to prevent it. And so, part of this is, we can't deliver safe care if our employees aren't safe themselves. And so this is, letting them know that we care about that perspective, what they do every day. The other new one is around a readmission metric. It's heart failure excess encounters. So this is a metric in terms of when we discharge a heart failure patient, how often do they come back to us within 30 days of discharge? And that could be a visit back to the emergency room. It could be a readmission back to the hospital. This is a metric, if you remember, it's not one of those key metrics on the CMS star rating. However, it is a metric that we are an outlier that we need to address, and we have some opportunity. The stars are the key metrics. So you can see 5 of the 9 metrics on our scorecard directly link back to the CMS star rating and impact that rating, as well as our leapfrog score. So this is the road to 3. We've got to stay focused. This is a screenshot of our actual scorecard that's available to everybody that works at UMMC. This happens to have 3 metrics on it. And what I want you to take away from it is the simplicity of it. Each metric is just a raw number. So the top metric there is hospital-acquired infections. So in the month of June, we had 15 infections. That's important because, number one, it's easy for everyone to understand, and we can drill this down to individual units. And at a unit level, you can remember what patient that is. So you can put a face to that infection. It's timely. So this scorecard updates the 15th of every month with the previous month's data. Really important. And I'll demonstrate how that's important here in the coming slides. And then finally, it's actionable. So if we put an intervention in place one month, we should know within the next month or 2 if it made a difference. So if you look at that second graph, that's hospital-acquired pressure injuries. The month of January, we had a big spike. We put an intervention in the end of January, and it made a pretty significant difference, and we know right away. That's important. We don't want to be doing interventions if they're not impactful. We want to try to move on to the next thing. It's about being efficient and effective of what we do. So this has been really important for us. We can easily demonstrate that the work we do with our internal scorecard drives the external data. So the graph on the right, or on the left, excuse me, is our internal data. The right is the CMS data. This is central line infections. So this was one of those metrics we were an outlier. So that red portion, the red arrow, points to the set of data that is used for the star rating. So the graph on the right, we're the blue line, and the nation is the orange line. And you see we're way above. All right. On our internal data, on the left side, you can see the line corresponds to that. Believe it or not, the orange arrow, last time I was here a quarter ago, when we went through the Leapfrog grade, Leapfrog actually used more recent data than CMS did. And the blue arrow is actually the most recent data that it's on Care Compare. So you can see how quickly some of this data changes, and it'd be really hard to keep up with. But regardless, the latest data that's available is still a year old. And we have our data, this is in quarters on our internal side, that keeps us a little bit more in tune. So you can see with that yellow arrow, we saw an uptick in our central line infections. We knew we had to address it. If we wait for the CMS data to come out, we're going to be late. So that timeliness is really important. I mentioned pressure injury earlier. I think this has been one of our greatest success stories. And this is all about making sure that we have the prevention strategies in place and then holding folks accountable that we're doing it. Okay. And this red area is the area of the scorecard that corresponds to the CMS star rating score. And you can see over time that on our internal scorecard, we've had a decrease in just the raw numbers of infections that have corresponded to a decrease in our rate through CMS. So it's a lot of good work. And again, that uptick that we are more easier to see with our internal data that we can address in a timely manner. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit to value. You know, as part of our 2025 strategic plan, that maximizing value is one of our key goals. And we talk a lot about that we can't do value if we don't do quality well. Quality is the main part of that value equation. I just wanted to share what our goals are for this fiscal year around value. Again, they all align around those pillars of care coordination, documentation, and cost. And then that last one is exactly what I said, maintain quality as a foundation of value. We can never forget about clinical quality. It will always be the #1 priority. We do have a value scorecard that supports all the work and those goals for our value strategy. Again, this is set up very similarly as the quality scorecard, baseline and target data for each of the metrics, very easy to understand, separated into those domains of care coordination, documentation, and cost. And a lot of this is, you know, how do we improve our length of stay, our throughput, do a better job of risk adjusting our documentation and improving cost. This year, we do have a new metric around efficiency, and this is perioperative efficiency, that idea of how often do we start on time for that very first case every day? And you can see we average about 60.8% of the time, and our goal is 70%. So it's just like any of us, you got to start your day right to get the rest of it going the right direction. I think the big thing that we're focusing on this year is, this is not new data. Like I said, only one of these metrics is new, but what's different with the scorecard this year is the data is available by diagnosis for the providers, and that allows them to do a little bit more work around specific areas and their high volume patients. And there's also a provider comparison. So nothing motivates performance more, particularly with physicians, than knowing how they compare with their peers. And so we 100% take advantage of that. And so that'll be something new this year. One of the things, like I mentioned earlier, that we're challenging our physicians to do this year is to add value to a clinical population. And this is where the scorecard is really going to help them. As I mentioned, the data is available by diagnosis, so they should get on the scorecard and see where they have an outlier, particularly with their length of stay, and then do some focus work on that. To add value, the first thing we have to do is understand the population of patients that we treat. And then we have to do all these other things. And that's about our documentation and standardizing our care and using care coordination to really remove barriers to discharge and ensure that we have a clean transition out of the hospital to the next level of care. Those three things promote efficiency and effectiveness, which are really the buzzwords around value, and something that we're really, trying to influence providers to engage in. Speaking of provider influence, and I think I've even shared this slide here before, and I share this frequently with our physicians, how they can impact throughput in the patient stay. Certainly capacity, we talk about that a lot here. It is the operational priority for our hospital, to be able to get patients through the system in a timely and an effective way. And there's lots of things physicians can do to help with that. Reducing their observation length of stay. Observation stays are stays within hours. So just talking about timely discharge. And I think a lot of the work related to the strategic plan that we're doing in the ambulatory setting really helps support our observation stays. And that's the idea of getting patients into the clinic in a timely manner so that we can get them out of the hospital or avoid a hospitalization altogether. Inpatient length of stay, however, is about reducing at midnight. And this is where really standardizing the care, whether it's you're taking care of heart failure, you're taking care of pneumonia, if everybody takes care of the patient the same way in an evidence-based model, there's plenty of data out there to say that it improves length of stay. And so we really need to go down that route. And then we've talked a lot about documentation and that idea of making sure that we capture the true acuity of our patients. And what that does is that increases what our expected length of stay is. And that's important for our length of stay metrics, but it's also important for our risk adjustment for all these metrics that we just talked about. We get a risk adjustment for things like our complications and such, and our documentation is what drives that. So I think that's all I had, and I think in summary, our quality priorities are the same: patients, reputation, and payment. I think we can use our reputation scores like the CMS star rating and our leapfrog score to help identify where we need to put more focus. Value fundamentals, care coordination, documentation, and cost. I think we have a scorecard to support that work. Efficiency and effectiveness. I said those are the buzzwords. I say those, I think, daily, multiple times a day to teams. And that's what's going to drive value. That is what value is. And then hopefully you see that data is the common thread in all of our work. I think it's keeping it objective, keeping us honest, holding us accountable. It's kind of been the special sauce for what we do. And certainly that will continue. So happy to answer any questions.
So can you take the data that you have and take it down to the actual specific provider?
Mm-hmm.
So you can run comparative data. That's what I'm hearing you say. Of
Yes.
Providers within departments.
Yep.
Departments against other departments.
Yep.
Okay.
And we share that data. Not all of that provider level data is on the scorecard.
Sure.
Certainly providers, it's transparent to everybody. A provider's patient experience and a provider's length of stay is transparent for everybody. But we also send providers their infections, their mortalities that they can review as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the main benefit is the reputation. However, as I mentioned, a lot of those metrics are also in pay for performance programs. And so that's where that affects our reimbursement. So there's a financial, not directly, the star rating itself is not directly related to a financial penalty. However, those same metrics are used in other programs. So for example, for Medicare. Yes, sorry.
Well, if there are no more questions, thank you so much, Lisa. Is there a motion to close the meeting to determine the need for an executive session?
So move. Ogletree.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, Trustee Lucky, And Trustee Martin?
Aye.
Okay. Trustee Lucky, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay. Um, Okay, anyone not needed for the executive session should leave the room or disconnect. If you're not an IHL trustee, you are welcome to wait in the lobby. Trustees, please give us a minute to clear the room and make sure the appropriate participants are virtually connected. Thank you.